West Side. To live in Don LA, where everybody try to fatten their pocket, so many hustle for the cash.
Well, hello. God bless you, community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Sister Herron and Skipp Townsend. We've been here every week since 2009 on Thursdays at 6 p.m., first on radio, now online, and we're so happy to share this time with our community because we know how important the subject is. So we're here to do God's work, do our best for what God wants for us and to represent for our community. And it's not anti-anybody else. It's just trying to find a way for African Americans to get along in this country, in this world in 2017. So God bless you once again, and thank you for paying attention to this, and we certainly hope that encourages you to get involved in any level, from working with children to sitting at home praying for us to succeed. You know, prayer is free, and you don't have to go anywhere to do it. You can do it right where you are right now, as a matter of fact, and pray without ceasing. And we thank you for your attention as we thank God for Skipp and his redemption, his recovery from the darkness that almost took him from us. And we thank him for being our co-host.
Yes, sister, I truly appreciate being the co-host. Before we even started, I had said, too, that I'm so grateful to God because everything I asked for, I seem to have gotten. And even though I didn't use it wisely, we have a good God. And in the church, they always say all the time. When I say God is good, everybody says all the time, right? Because he was there for me the entire way. And I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. And so now my word is obedient. I'm truly obedient to God. And I am definitely willing to walk the walk and talk the talk and do the things that are most hard or challenging, to let everyone know, even if I don't force religion down your throat or I don't force my spirituality, that it's definitely there.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to piggyback on what you said. You're really saying that even in your darkness, God was still with you.
Yes.
Yeah, when you was out wilding, and God was still looking out for you.
Yes.
And we want our young people to understand He's always with us, even in the worst of it, in our darkest hours. We're never alone.
Right.
Yeah. And He speaks to us in our heart, not our ears and our head. He comes through in the most quiet part of our body, and that's our heart.
Yes.
And a lot of us miss that for the chaos that we hear in our ears and see with our eyes. He's the faith that we can't see, but somehow manifests in amazing ways. And here's an example of an amazing God, an amazing way, an amazing life. But before we get to introduce this marvelous legend,
Sister Herron, you can't introduce him. When people look, if they look at him, they know who that is.
You're right.
So when you talking about introducing him,
well, yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's like saying, I'm going to tell you about Michael Jackson in a minute, but people know who Michael Jackson, people know who this is right
Yes,
here.
Oh,
they do.
Dear,
Right.
you all are so kind.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten started with you, and just blessed for you to be here. But before we start, we have to thank our guest from last week.
Praise
Yes,
God.
we
Yes. You remember who was here last week?
Yes, I remember who was here last week. Yes.
Kiki Watson.
Yes.
Henry.
Yes. Henry Kiki Watson,
Yes.
one of the LA4. He's
Yes.
he's been really busy these last couple of weeks as
Yes,
well.
he
He's
has.
been in a documentary
Yes.
alongside of the young man next to me here to my
Yes,
left.
yes.
Yes, he's very instrumental in being that face right now, because one of the guys who were part of the LA4 is on drugs, and we lost him to the streets, and another one has been murdered. We lost him to the streets, and then Damon Football Williams, he's serving another sentence,
Right.
you know, so he's in jail. So what we have now is Kiki, Henry Watson, who's the voice of what happened, and you know, it's just emotions, the venting, the expression of anger came out and displaced anger. It was displaced, you know, and
Well, I don't want to even get to the anger yet because we haven't thanked Cam for calling in.
yes,
Okay, Cam called in
yeah.
from Watts, and he was a part of the 92 Peace Treaty.
Right. Well, he was actually the one who penned a song called Peace Treaty.
Oh, okay.
So he's the one who brought it to light. And as he said, he had a record deal at the time. So even though it happened in April, it didn't come out till almost December. But still grateful that he put that out into the public, and it made it to the radio stations and the TV stations.
Yes, and what amazed me about that treaty, it happened right in correlation with the revolt.
Right.
Because I have my Facebook. I found this through Google. This picture that was drawn with the handshake and the date and the head rags, the red and blue head rags, in this powerful peace poster, and I put that as my cover photo to mark the time and the occasion of that. So it was pretty powerful to have Cam. I'm sorry, Cam didn't come to the studio, but he did call in, and phone conversations are very hard to have.
Right.
But we worked our way through it, and one of the things that I appreciated about Cam, you cracked a joke that he called me old, but he was saying that we have a generation gap.
Right.
Okay, and in reflecting on that conversation, Cam was absolutely right.
Right.
Absolutely right. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm happy with the people that come talk to us, because it's very important to get everybody's view.
Right.
Everybody's.
It really is.
Yeah.
And he's an exceptionally brilliant young man. He's self-educated, and he's also, of course, educated through the school system. But he's very talented and very educated, and he actually, sort of like Harry Belafonte, Cam actually gave of his career to voice his opinion.
Yes.
He didn't rap. Cam never rapped about bees and hoes and all that. He didn't rap about selling drugs. He was a conscious thinking rapper, and he talked about exactly what was going on in Watts in South LA, and so he had a short commercial career. So he, maybe only a couple of albums were commercial, but he means so much to the community, to people like myself who appreciate the fact that he didn't sell out. He didn't say, well, I'm gonna rap about drugs and glorify violence so I can keep my record deal. Right. He stuck to his morals. So
yeah, and we found out in the interim that the music moguls didn't want that kind of music.
Right.
They wanted the kind of hate music that denounced our women, that our black men denouncing each other and making music threats, and all that foolishness to pit us against each other as a people.
Right.
And the sad reality is we sold out for those dollars.
Right.
Okay, and Cam wasn't a part of that.
Right.
Okay, and we need to also acknowledge that Kiki, people label him as a thug and a gang member and just a criminal, and Kiki had a chance to tell us that no, he was a father, married man with children, working 2 jobs, and came from a home where his dad was apart and lived in the home with him and helped him and his mother raise him. So
what was so impactful, and I didn't do it on purpose, I brought up his mother, not knowing that was her birthday.
Yes.
And the tears started coming. This man is 250 pounds.
Yes, he is.
6'2", 6'3", and right here he had tears because I didn't know it was her birthday, but what I did know is that they were close. Right. That he was real close with his mom. So that was very impactful, and I'm truly honored that he felt emotionally safe here to be himself and not have to try to be tough. And I love that.
Kiki struck me as the black man that raised me, strong, powerful, conviction. I'm a black man, and I'm going to stand in my own shoes and stand on my feet. I'm not going to be a black man on my knees.
Right.
And so that was something that really impressed me. And we haven't seen enough of him, men like him around, guiding the next generation. And so we rely on men like this, legends right here, that are so generous on our level, Dr. Murray. That's what I want our listeners to receive from this, is that this man of God is generous to us.
Right.
He comes and talks to us about the most painful aspects of our living in this world, and that's the violence that we commit against each other.
Yes.
Okay, so God bless you, Dr. Murray.
Dear, thank you, darling. Thank you.
You have any opening comments? You know, I always promise I'm going to be quiet, just let you talk.
Let me see.
Good heavens, you bring up the subjects that are part of us. We must have the two of you with questions. We must have the two of you with answers, and we'll feed off of you. You cook it, we'll eat it.
Oh, man, I love you so much. You know, and I just want to say this because I watched as many documentaries as I could about the 25th anniversary, because I wanted to see if there was going to be bias. I wanted to see if there was going to be exploitation. I wanted to see if there was going to be blame. You know, I was looking for all those things, so I had to look at as many of them as I could. The only one I didn't see was in a pay-per-view, a pay channel, a premium channel. But all the ones that were accessible in minimum cable, HD television, I tried to watch. And in every one of them, virtually every one of them, this legend was there. And I want to say, for those that may not know, I remember that day on my black and white TV, watching the tears come down his face. Watching the tears come down his face. And watching the anger from Tom Bradley, trying to speak about the pain we had just received from the Justice Department. And so it was a very traumatic day. But then some of these documentaries showed your face that day again. It's like, oh my God, we're going back there. And I just want you to bring us to whatever you want to tell us about that time.
I think that it was a turning point, not only for Los Angeles, but for our nation. The poet Langston Hughes, black poet, asks with brilliance, what happens to a dream deferred, a dream put on hold? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or does it explode? In everything about our history in America, particularly black history in America, tells us that the dream denied tends to explode. Yes, it was and is a dream, but we are reminded that from day one, the first 5 presidents of our nation owned slaves. 8 of the 45 presidents have owned slaves. A dream put on hold. America should be a dream nation. And our people need to remember that we were coming from Africa in mass as early as 500 AD, when Columbus didn't get here until 1492. And when he got here, he didn't know where he was. But we are a noble people.
Yes.
And we opened up this territory. Proof of it is down in Central America, because as we came from the west coast of Africa and we touched the coast of America, there on the mountainsides in the Caribbean, we carved out images of ourselves and carved out poetry. We have a lot to say. We have invested in this nation, and we must insist on liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I so agree with you. Our other guest has shown up and is waiting to be let in, and You want to do that now?
Well,
Okay.
I want to say how angry I am.
Yes, okay.
I'm sitting here listening to this right here, and it makes me angry.
It does,
So to
doesn't it?
think that our people are great people that came here well before Christopher Columbus, and you mean to tell me that we have been robbed of our history,
Yes.
robbed of our culture? So when Cam said there's that generational gap, well, my generation gets angry
Yes.
and wants to explode. As you said, we don't want to dry up with the sun, because here's the thing, we have not healed from slavery. So, I look at PTSD. We don't have PTSD. It's not post, it's present. It's
present.
happening to us each and every day, and we don't have a healing process. If I get on the freeway and I go east, I can go to Riverside. That's the process. If I go west, I can go to Malibu. That's the process. Tell me, what freeway do I get on to go heal?
You can't go to Malibu.
What street do I get on to go heal? We don't have a healing process, and I don't want to just say for LA, but for black people.
Right,
Black people who have suffered through tragedy. We don't have a healing process.
Don't get up, just slide over.
Why
Can
is
you
he-
slide over a little bit? Because I'm going to stay
What is
next
y'all
to
doing?
you. Come
What
on,
is
bring
y'all
your
doing?
chair up, Marcus.
Marcus
Yeah.
who? Oh, they're going to Marcus right there.
Okay. Well, we tried to get a cross-section of voices for this conversation, and actually last night and Saturday, I was talking to Dr. Murray before we went on the air. I went to Florence and Normandy, to acknowledge the 25th anniversary of that horrific day and
Yes.
other things that happened on that corner that hurt us all and, surprised many people, but even us. I think that my folks were even more surprised at the level of rage that we showed, and not only surprised but hurt by it. The frustration, an explosion was coming.
I don't know why surprised. I'm not surprised at a group of people who have continuously showed us that the system works, but it's not designed to work for us.
No.
So I wasn't surprised by that. That's why it was moved to Simi Valley, so that it would work better for them. And I'm not surprised by the reaction of my peers, of my people, because we have been hurt for so long.
Yes.
When is enough enough? And when it becomes enough, and what really got me is the telepathic communication that we all had that day.
You found that word, huh?
Right, I got it. That enough is truly enough. So as they're on Adams and LaSalle, and they're on Vernon and Normandy and King and Crenshaw, wherever they are, and Florence and Normandy, it was going throughout the city that enough was enough.
City.
And so I'm not surprised. And then what's coming up is that was 27 years after 65.
Right.
So now we got 2 more years, and it'll be 27 years after 92. We still haven't healed, and we have a new generation who have not experienced this.
That was one of the things Saturday. I met some young men that weren't born in 92, and they like Marcus. How old are you?
I'll be 40 this year.
Right. Okay. And let's introduce Marcus. Introduce yourself, honey.
I'm Marcus Woods. I'm here because I want to, listen to the wisdom of Dr. Murray. That's the only reason I'm here today.
Good heavens, I'm here to listen and learn from you. You're not even a baby boomer as yet, but you generation next.
Yes.
And that's a crucial generation. We're looking to you to take us to the next step.
I'm always wanting to be a bridge, so anytime I can help and bring the older generation to the younger, I'm always right there with it.
See, that's unusual rhetoric for black males because we've been oppressed so long and so harshly that we've gotten self-defensive instead of getting defensive of all. We've got to reach out beyond ourselves. We've got to understand that you get nothing in life that's worthwhile, that's free. There's a price to pay. We've paid the price for 400 years. Enough. We must stand and stand for truth and justice.
That's right. And you know what? That's why we love to have you here, Dr. Murray. See, because we need our elders to speak truth. We have to speak the truth about our circumstances so the young children don't think that they're being deceived, they won't be confused, that they understand, which gives them a balance on how to operate. And the sad reality is that I was speaking with somebody last week talking about we still have to have the talk with our kids and looking at in 25 years that it's not just L.A. Yesterday it was Alton Sterling out of Louisiana. We already had Eric Garner killed in New York City. We had Michael Brown in Ferguson. We had Trayvon Martin in Florida. And it seemed to have opened a floodgate that it's okay to shoot and kill black men, especially if you have a gun and a badge. It just gives you an automatic license to shoot to kill without recourse. No resolve, no question, no nothing. I did it, and especially, well, the unusual is that this officer, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name, I can see the incident with the father running away and the officer shooting behind him.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I heard about that yesterday.
Well, he pled guilty.
He pled guilty?
Yes.
But it wasn't murder. He pled guilty to...
excessive force.
Right.
Okay.
He pled guilty to being out of compliance with the way they take a person into custody.
Was that a suspension?
No, it's probably getting him fired. He's going to lose his money, but he's not going to go to jail.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It is crazy because, you know, you see the video, as we saw with Rodney King, and they tell you, no, that's not what you saw. Okay, in this video, you see the officer go and lay something by the deceased evidence caught on camera.
That's what he's pleading guilty to. That's what he's pleading guilty to.
He's pleading guilty to dropping it. They seen him drop the gun.
That's what he's pleading guilty to.
He has to say he did that for them to clear the rest.
That's what he did. That was
immunity.
out of policy. That's what he did. That was out of policy. He falsified documents.
Yeah,
that's what he did.
Evidence.
You mean the same way that they falsified evidence in Ezell Ford's murder?
Yeah.
They lied. They lied when they killed autistic Stephen Eugene Washington. Okay, those are the officers that sued the city because they didn't like the job restriction,
right?
And were awarded at least $2.4 million.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, and I was having a heated debate with someone I respected until this debate about Marlene Pinnock, the lady with emotional challenges that was beaten on the freeway by the highway patrol officer.
Yes.
And out of her settlement, after the attorney got their portion, Marlene got $900,000.
Yes.
And this person was saying to me, well, she made out good. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. She's already has physical challenges. Now you've damaged that, and she's going to need a lifetime of care. A lifetime of care. And this person actually thought that, and then the $900,000 was okay, and then comes back and tells me, well, you don't understand because Stephen Eugene Washington's family got $950,000. It's like, what?
That's because people are content. You know, when you got people who say, oh, you know, I need this amount of money, I need that amount of money, and you get it that easy, you set. You like hood rich now. You can do anything you want. And
not Marlene Pinnock. Not Marlene Pinnock.
Most people
She's never going to be hood rich.
In their life.
No, this was somebody totally disconnected from her arena. But the one thing they did in challenging me that they thought, well, 900, she made out real good. It's like, wait a minute. How do you put a dollar value on somebody's mental state?
And you do understand that this is actually our money. This is taxpayer dollars that they set aside. There's a line item. I know LAPD, it was like $70 million. And that line item, what is that $70 million for? It is for lawsuits. So, I mean, they're taking our money and putting it aside, saying we know that law enforcement is going to make some mistakes. There's going to be something that goes wrong. Right. So we have money set aside. The same way I pay insurance every month. So I'm betting the insurance company something's going to happen to my car. and they bet it won't. So I got to pay them each and every month, and at the end of it, it comes out $2,000-3,000, whatever it is. But with law enforcement, it's $70 million. That's just LAPD. I don't know what the sheriff and Highway Patrol and all that. Right.
Because they got it's a like if you look in the Title 15, the prison administrative book, they actually talk about that and state that the money comes from a fund and no officer wages will be garnished. So they really don't care if they beat you up or shoot you because nothing's happening to their livelihood at all. So they don't really care about all that.
Well, this is a reality we wanted to discuss with Dr. Murray. Have we progressed? What is it that we're missing we need to be paying attention to? We really want to get your assessment because you've been at this from the beginning. You know what was going on in 92. You've seen what's going on in 2017, bless your heart.
Yes, and there is change. The change is not radical enough. And even within us, who have for 400 years suffered deprivation, the change isn't quite radical enough. And as we go into the 21st century, patience more and more is going to be set aside. And we're going to have to realize that it's up to us as a nation to make some vital decisions. Are we really going to see ourselves as a nation of nations? Because we are a nation of immigrants. All of us came here. But as we came, there was genocide of Native Americans.
Oh, yes.
Then there was enslavement of African Americans. And you could go on listing the negatives. And that will not endure as we move into the 21st and the 22nd century. We'll have to decide, are we going to be a nuclear family? Or are we going to be a nuclear bomb?
Okay.
I have trust issues. I have trust issues. I have abandonment issues.
Yes.
I have social injustice issues.
Yes.
And I can't speak for my culture, my community. I can't even speak for my whole family. But I know for me, I don't want to trust people who have proven to me time and time again that they are not considerate of not only my life, but the life of my children, my well-being, my sanity, they have abused me financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. So I have to think to myself, would it be better for me to be cut off? And I think I asked the question, if not last week, the week before, what would happen if I was in an abusive relationship? Would I be asked to stay and try to work it out in this relationship if I told you I was getting beat at home? Or, if I think my life is in danger, the life of my children in danger, if I am being abused like that, I think that I have to get out that relationship and not try to make it work. But I get it, we're all put together, but because of my trust issues, and like I said, I brought up a question, where is the avenue for healing? And you guys might laugh if there's no freeway, no street, but where is my healing avenue with the people who have harmed me? That's the part. And we're 2 years out from being 27 years again. Will these 19 and 20 years old, will they create another disturbance if something happens to one of their close friends or someone with heavy influence? Just think, there's so many people out there who are 19, 20 with heavy influence. They have 2,000 friends on Facebook and Instagram and Snap. If the police do something to them, you know how fast that'll get around? And then will that explode again? So where do we begin the healing so that it doesn't?
I think one of the beginning points is an agreement between us that we must protest. It simply won't happen unless we protest. Nothing is going to happen without demand. The second component is not only must we protest, but we must protest nonviolently.
Yes.
Even and the Watts unrest, rebellion, and the 92 civil unrest, the rebellion, the protesting left us hurting more. There are ways to protest without setting on fire, without burning. There are ways to protest that you can still get what you are seeking definitely without self-destruction. Right. We don't own the guns. We don't own the capital that it takes to be the dominant culture. We don't own that. But what we do own, we have enough weapons that, like Mahatma Gandhi in India, like Nelson Mandela in South Africa, like Martin Luther King preached and prayed, we must protest, but we must protest nonviolently.
And I'm going to have to agree with you about that. The burning is not effective for us. And we need, at this point, effective solutions. And I'm saying that because when Trayvon Martin and we had, it's our custom when we have an issue to show up at Leimert Park. Okay, everybody is just a given. We come to Leimert Park. When Prince passed, we were in Leimert Park. When Trayvon Martin was murdered, we were in Leimert Park when Michael Jackson passed. So it's our place to meet. Well, after the Trayvon verdict, we had other communities come to join us in Leimert Park. And at Crenshaw and Exposition, there was a truck with a military personnel in his military helmet, a war helmet, not a cap, sitting behind this substantial weapon, automatic weapon to kill multitudes. If he opened fire, he could kill multitudes. And so that was very aggressive preparation from the police department. They say, oh no, he was there to protect the train. But at the same time, at the end of our King Parade every January, they had paramilitary dressed men on watch at the end of the parade in the Leimert Park area in the back in the parking lot where the Pizza Hut is now. That was their staging area. But they were well armed, dressed for war at the Dr. King Parade. And that was the year that Chief Green rode with us. And when we came around that corner and saw all those police officers, I looked at him like, well, are you trying to instigate something with this presentation? This is a peace event. And you have your officers out here prepared for a major conflict. And you're antagonizing the community by doing that.
And one of the words you used earlier was you were surprised.
Yeah.
So let me ask you again, and you were surprised?
Skipp, I've been at this trying to get to the better place. I've been pushing for the better place. And the better place that I've gotten is you and Dr. Murray and this young man here and all the people that I've met on this level. That excludes politicians, pulpit jockeys, and everybody else. If you can't come and meet us here where our pain is, you're not helping. See, so this is why we respect the ones that come forward and let the rest go. We're going to break it. We're going to keep talking.
I don't know. I want to say something.
Say something. No,
I was just going to say that I don't. You said, come meet us where our pain is. And let me tell you that there are plenty of people, Tangarides, Chief Green, Charlie Beck even. He met me and Bo Taylor in an alley on 31st and Western.
Yes.
Well, Gramercy, St. Anne, whatever street it was.
Doesn't matter where.
But the thing is, though, they can come and meet me where my pain is. But just like if I go see you in the hospital and you just had your appendix taken out, I can meet you where your pain is, but I can't feel your pain.
Yeah.
You can't feel my pain. So there is an emptiness. Stylistic said in the song when they talked about while the world is safe and sleep in their dreams, I feel so lonely. You know, Children of the Night, the song Children of the Night.
Yes.
You know, they say there's an empty feeling within my soul.
Yes.
So I walk the shadows.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so when you come meet me at my pain, you don't have that empty feeling that I have when I look at the disappointments and the things that the trust that is never going to be there. I can always look forward, and we need to build forward. And I don't mind sitting at the table with any of the people, but they cannot tell me that they feel my pain when they have been part of the oppression. They have been part of the system that has oppressed my people. And even now, as we talk about investing money into different districts, Council District 8 mainly, the investment is going to be more police officers. It's going to be to pay for a CSP program. I don't agree that it's going to take the police to build relations with our community to create safety. If community safety policing is the name, it starts with community.
Yes.
It ends with policing, but there should be a heavy amount of influence, a heavy amount of resources poured into the community. And when they keep investing in law enforcement, I just erase their number out of my phone.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right, Skipp. You know, that's part of the frustration. We had no communication in 92, had zero respect. Even when they fired Chief Gates, he refused to go. He just refused to accept that the community saw him as the problem. You're the leadership of this agency of bullies that come around my neighborhood doing Rodney Kings every day, every week, nonstop. And the men in my immediate vicinity were really outraged. So it was something that was destined to happen. It was destined to happen. And as you pointed out, Skipp, we knew that we weren't going to get justice the minute they moved that trial from L.A. to Simi Valley. We already knew. We smelled the setup. We saw the setup. We felt it coming, and here it is. Bang.
Yes, and 8 of us had been meeting with Mayor Tom Bradley in the weeks leading up to the verdict. And we had an agreement that on the night of the verdict, we would meet at our city's oldest black church where I was pastor, First AME Church. We knew that it was not going to be too good with the movement to Simi Valley because a large percentage of the police of Los Angeles and Southern California live in Simi Valley, and the conservative element is there, not a liberal element. So we would meet and we would send out groups of men, 20, 30 men together to certain points in South Central. Your job is to keep us cool. Your job is to make certain that we don't start the violence because we are going to be angry, perhaps, when the sentence comes out. And sure enough, that night we met. The mayor had just finished talking. We had put speakers on the rooftop because we knew the church would be crowded and overcrowded, and the streets around the church would be filled with people, and we needed to hear the agreement. We must stay non-violent. But it was too late because the fires had started in the southeast, the west, and were moving north. Then we must go on to step 2.
Yes. And 2, I'm sorry to say that all the documentaries reminded me of the time frame of Latasha Harlan.
Yes.
And that same time, she was murdered in close proximity to the date of Rodney's beating. And we didn't get any justice for that in the videotape. And so that was one of the stunning parts of one of those documentaries that I watched, was listening to a woman who was a younger teenager. And she was in the store that day. And she gave her testimony of what it was like in that store to come in there. They had the Pac-Man video game. and all the kids want to play Pac-Man. So they bring their little quarters or whatever they had to do to play Pac-Man, and that used to annoy the owner. You know, you kids play a game and leave. It's like, no, we brought our money to play. We're going to play. Mm-hmm. So there was already agitation between the community and the store owner.
See, I'm getting mad again.
Yeah, I know.
That's my issue right there. So when individuals come into, I want to say our communities, they come into our communities and they don't respect our culture, they don't respect our children, therefore they don't respect our elders, our parents, and they want us to spend money with them. So what they're doing actually is robbing me. They want me to give them my money for product and then leave, and they don't care anything about me, anything about us. And so even regardless if this girl stole some orange juice or not, let me tell you, I'm willing to give $100 for that orange juice. Don't shoot that girl.
Thank you.
You know, so I mean, this is so horrible that this is happening to us. And trust and believe, I think that Pastor Murray is a great man and an elder that could teach us a lot. But I don't know if we're supposed to be nonviolent when people are being violent against us. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that I got the thought like, maybe look, it keeps happening to us. You know, and you named some great people that have been professing this, and then they did him wrong. That man did 27 years in prison because he was a political prisoner, Nelson Mandela. You know, and I don't know. I can't.
I think what it was with those people, they were even more humble after the fact, as opposed to how humble they were before when they, like Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, he spent 27 years in prison, and he comes out peaceful. Yes. You know, just like, you know, I have a lot of people telling me, you're supposed to come out bitter and you know, you're not supposed to talk to me, you know, and they have a idea of what a person is supposed to be like. So when you see a Nelson Mandela who everybody, or those who've never been to prison, you know, look at this man, he's been to prison 27 years, how can he do it? And then they're hearing him say be, you know, peaceful and nonviolent, while, you know, most who go to prison would say, you know, I don't think I can be that way.
No, you know? No, but let me tell you what happened during those 27 years. What happened is he humbled himself. He healed himself.
Yeah, he was able to heal himself.
So the healing started while he was in prison. See, that's why he came home a healthy person.
And that's what I meant.
But so
how can, for those who don't believe in that, the idea would be, how could this man do this and these people treating him that way, yet he's telling everybody, don't be mad at them, you know, forgive them and be peaceful. You know, and a lot of people wouldn't be peaceful.
But before he gets out of prison, during those 27 years, what is happening to our people during Martin Luther King days, during those 1950s and 60s, what's happening to our people is horrific. The genocide of the indigenous people here, that is horrific.
Yes, it is.
So as we continue to fight power with our love and with our faith, we are continued to be demolished. We are continued to be on the other side of that social justice where the scales are unbalanced, and we don't fight back.
But don't you think we, just like I was just about to say that, don't you think it's because we don't fight back? You got so many people who would rather just sit and, oh man, this is, you know, them people ain't gonna let us do this. You're giving them power already. You're telling them that they're in power, so
and
they're gonna
use the word power. We are reminded power concedes nothing without demand.
That's right.
White power will concede
We don't demand the power that we
without
seek.
the demand. And the demand isn't for me to get a gun and start shooting.
Not that.
No, not that.
No, not that. And let me just say real quick that the fires, I was there in 92. Those fires weren't started by black people. I just want y'all to know. Those fires was not from our culture. Our culture was being opportunistic and taking things that they could take home. Our culture was not setting fires.
But even though we know that,
let me say
everybody
something.
Else choose to.
Let me say something
did.
to kind of frame this. I live between Vermont and Normandy, and we actually watched those fires come up both streets at the same time. It was like precision. At the same time, when it was burning on 70th and not really on Florence, but it was burning on Vermont. And then when it was at the Slauson, it was burning on Vermont at the same time. And that struck me as odd. How can you be so precise to have those same areas burning at the same time on two major streets in our community?
That was the opportunity to take the money away.
Okay, and then the other thing, too, was what happened at La Brea and Rodeo. The Rite Aid that employed our people, that we spent our money in, okay, you took the stuff off the shelf. But you mean to tell me we set that building on fire? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. And the same thing with the warehouse.
It was Thrifties.
It was Thrifties, because then it came back Rite Aid.
Right.
Yes. And the same thing with the warehouse across the street. We took all the videos and all the CDs and everything, but we didn't set that place on fire. No. See, and so there was some insurance shenanigans going on in that time, too, that got blamed for the chaos.
Real quick, sister, you talked about the Trayvon Martin verdict when it came in, and we met at Lamert Park. You talked about people from other places that came.
Yes.
Those people are placed here. So, I work for the Grid, and they said when this comes down, I'm working around the corner, community build with Brenda Shockley and them, and they said, okay, we're going to put our interventionists in the community. So they have the Bloods and Crips. We're sitting here at the park looking, and guys are coming by with boots on, mask on their face, backpacks, big black shirts, and I'm looking like, man, they not from the jungles. Them is not the Blackstones. Those aren't the Rolling 40 Crips. Who are these people who are organizing and antagonizing and instigating the community to be violent?
Yes.
So when we say that, I actually seen it for myself that day, but just imagine in 92, I believe that there might have been people who were placed here with a purpose to antagonize and get people going for whatever the benefit was, whether it was insurance money or whether it was to rebuild a certain land, whatever it was. But, so when that person becomes that negative influence, so when I talk about fighting back, I'm definitely not talking about killing people and shooting the police. That is not it. But I'm saying we must demand. And I like Israel. I like what they're doing. Those kids are picking up rocks. Okay, so I mean, you got big old tanks. You got big tanks. You have a military there and these kids are like, I don't care. I'm gonna throw rocks. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about actually killing people, whatever, but letting them know that power concedes nothing. Unless it's a demand, and we have to demand. We cannot ask for anything because they never ask for anything.
No. And really what I want to get to with Dr. Murray's help prayerfully is that the unification we need to make these demands. You see, they're not going to pay any attention to me and Skipp standing on the corner shaking our fists talking about give us our rights. That's never going to work. It's the lack of unification that costs us the power we need to make change. And so we're here for the other side of our life, the side that almost took you away. And we talked about that at meeting last night. I actually did go, and it was kind of an aftermath of Saturday, but one individual was not going to fixate on that without including the damage we've done to ourselves.
Yes, we obviously cannot continue to hurt ourselves, and we must begin to have an understanding of our strengths. And we know what weaknesses are in the system, but within us there must be a super strength that has been able to withstand all that we have been through. Slavery, then following slavery, segregation, following segregation, discrimination, following discrimination, finally the civil rights era. And now many of the non-blacks are talking about the post-civil rights era, like it's all over. When the Republicans today just unified and said they are going to remove Barack Obama's health care program. This very simply put there, they have the power.
Yes.
We are concerned with the demand, and we demand that there be justice and equity, and we are not going to be struggling with each other and so forth and so on.
Right.
Because as you saw from the videos following the burning in 1992, into, there were all cultures that were looting. It wasn't just black folks going in and taking groceries and clothing and stuff and coming out with shopping carts. It was black, white, yellow, brown, Asian, and so forth and so on. So we are not bad people. We just have to find a way to utilize the strength that we have, which is determination and some togetherness. And we are always going to have a certain group that's not going to be with us among our people. But we can't have unity. We must have community.
That's right. There it is. Community. Yes, so for every one of you that I pass in the store and pass on the street that ignores me, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to say, hey, sister, hey, brother, how you doing today? You know, in the old days that raised us, it used to be just a head nod. You didn't have to say a word, just an acknowledgement. I see you. We're in this struggle together. That's what that head nod said. We're in this struggle together. I see you. Now I go to the store, and they trying everything but to see me. Right. And I'm trying to figure out, well, I ain't even done anything to you yet. You see, so...
You said yet.
Yeah. Well, another chick walked by me with that stink face. I'm liable to go to jail.
But what percentage of our people are like that group that ignores you when you speak to them?
Too many of them now.
Maybe too many, but it's not the majority.
No, and you know what? It's not in his peer group. It's not in Skipp's peer group.
When you see a young man crossing the street at the light with his pants pulled down, showing his shorts, he's not your majority.
He'll talk to me. That young man with his pants sagging will talk to me. When I'm in that Food for Less and that girl is pushing that basket, she'd rather run over me than say, hey, sister, how you doing? Or just head nod.
Right.
You ain't got to say, hey, sister, or nothing. Just head nod. Just see me. And this is the thing we're teaching our kids. If she don't see me, their kids don't see me. You see, and this is, I believe, what added to our issues against each other is that if I treat you with hate or disregard, my children see me do the same thing. And I'm teaching my children in that act that you don't matter.
You know what we call that a second call?
What?
We call it the dog in the yard.
The dog in the yard.
Because, you know, if you come to my house and I have a dog, my dog is going to go to the gate and look at you like, who are you? Until I start saying, hey, sister, and I start smiling, that dog will wag his tail like, okay, sister must be cool. Yeah. But if I say, get away from here, you better, that dog's going to bark and want to bite you. Yeah. It's the same thing when I have a child in my arm. And the child is happy and looking at me and I'm happy. And as soon as you come up and I frown or I look crazy at you, the baby's going to understand that. Yeah. Just like the dog in the yard, that baby's going to say, oh, we don't like this person.
They're going to receive
we're not
that
happy.
attention.
They're going to receive that. So definitely the children are listening and paying attention, even if we're not speaking, even if it's just facial gestures.
But we train our children, be civil.
Yes.
Respect your teacher, respect your classmates. Someone speak to you, speak back to them. That's the majority of us. Right. A minority, perhaps, a little bit streetish, thuggish.
Okay, well, I'm on the
they're
side
saying
of the
I'm
street
somebody, and you can't stop him from saying he's somebody, crazy somebody. But we still have more sanity than we have insanity.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We just and let me add, I'm gonna put the churches on the spot with you, Dr. Murray. In this recovery, in this need to find our strength and unity to do these challenges. You know, our churches used to be that place where we'd go to get politically active and focused.
So the challenge then is for the church to rebuild itself and for ego and greed in the pulpit to disappear. Because you don't have to have the biggest car, the biggest house, the biggest salary, the biggest ego in town. You are here to serve the people. Now, though we have a portion of our churches that will put the people ahead of the me. We have a portion, but there's a certain group that I'm the pastor of every blade of grass, thumping his chest and carrying on like that. That's not going away. But I got my choice between him as an enemy and then Charlie, who got all the power in the world, as the enemy. Wasting my time on this jackass who ain't even got enough sense to see that you were sent to serve the people and they feeding your behind, and I don't have the time to waste on you. If you were my brother, I love you. If you don't love me, that's your problem. God bless you, and I'm going to stay on the problem.
It is.
That's that wisdom I was talking about. I came from.
Right.
Yes.
Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Well received.
Yes, sir.
Yes, because, in that answer, the good pastors that you were talking about, we need them to unify. Show us that our churches can work together for the common good of the people they're here to serve.
And when you look, we're not unique. In American churches, 60% dropout rate.
Yeah.
Catholic, Protestant, there's a 60% dropout rate. In the millennial generation, ages 18 to 39, it's hard to pull them into the church.
Yes.
But yet, the black church has got to understand it was born to serve the people, and the people are the underserved communities. You are sent to serve, to lift the fallen, to help the helpless, to give sight to the blind, to give hope to the hopeless. Your church find housing for those who are not housed. You can have a housing ministry. You've got to have a prison ministry, because the brothers get out of prison, they don't have any type of, they'll be right back in prison, 1 out of 3 in 3 years, and on and on. You are sent to lift, not to be lifted.
Yeah. I told people you said that. And they, no, Dr. Murray didn't say that. I said, yes, he did.
And we have
he
no
said ego
option.
and greed. Okay.
We have no option, or else we die.
You're right. Yeah. This is a life and death issue for us, as it always has been since they brought us over in the hull of the boat, chained to each other. And it's still life and death in 2017, sadly, and that our lives don't matter in the decision yesterday to exonerate those officers that killed Alton Sterling in Louisiana, the man selling CDs and minding his own business. And it's sad to say that a homeless man caused that he had been harassing Alton about some give out, can you give me something, can you give me something, and Alton, leave me alone, you see. And so it was his last straw with that. It's like, hey, leave me alone. That was enough for the homeless man to call the police and tell him that he had been threatened. And here they come and end up killing this man that was just trying to do business. So it's very hard for us as a people to take that, Skipp.
Well, you just brought up a good point, because remember the young man, I don't know if he was young or not, he's in Inglewood, he's mentally challenged, and he's bothering people at the barbecue stand. And
You're talking about Mr. Franco.
Mr. Franco. So he was killed by Inglewood police because someone actually called the police and said that he was out there bothering people.
Right.
So it leads me to the point that that's why I say I have trust issues. I do not want to call the police in situations. And let me tell you, I just recently, about a month and a half ago, I'm coming home. I live on 116th and Avalon, the home of the Watts Rebellion, the 65. I'm on that block. And I saw a young man beating his girl, and she was screaming. The doors were open to the houses right there. And I'm trying to figure out, it didn't look like he was trying to kidnap her. It looked like domestic. It looked like that's his sister or his girlfriend or something. And I'm torn because I don't dial 911, but I don't know the situation, so I don't want to get out. Right. So what I did is I started driving up, honking my horn, flashing my lights at him, acting like I'm about to hit him, and then he let her go, and that gave her enough time to get on the other side of the car. Yeah. But, I mean, he went right back to her as soon as I drove off, but it kills me because I know had I called law enforcement, number one, they might have killed him. Number one. Yes. Number two, they might have taken him to prison for 12 to 15 years for that, for something that they might be able to work out. So it like tears me to the point where I know that I just cannot call the police because they are not here for our best interest.
No.
They're just not. I mean, regardless of what they say, and Woodall would say, of course, if he's watching, yeah, they're not here for you until you need them, Skipp. You know, which I mean, and he's absolutely right, because if I need them, I'm like, man, where they at? But so I mean, I don't know how to get through this relationship. It's abusive, and I don't know how to handle an abusive relationship. I just want to run.
Skipp, and I have to shake my head too, because since I've been in this, we've tried to have a meeting of the mind. You remember the major meeting we had with them over the killing of a 40-year-old man at a vigil for a community icon, an elder lady on that block that had a place for all those kids, latchkey kids, gang kids, throwaway kids. She had a place for them in her home. She was welcoming. And when she passed, natural causes, they had a big, huge vigil that took up the block. People called South Bureau on a noise complaint. Because they were out there playing the music, they were drinking wine, they were smoking weed, but they were celebrating this lady's life. And out of that, South Bureau comes through and shoots this 40-year-old man that runs because he has a gun in his pocket.
Well, the thing that always gets me is, why do they have to make contact? Why do they say, well, Skipp, we're not going to leave a guy with a gun, but listen, but here's the thing.
They didn't know he had a gun in his pocket until he ran.
Why do you have to chase him?
Yes.
If it's officer safety, then tell your officers, do not chase him, set up a perimeter, get a helicopter, arrest him, take him to jail, and confiscate the gun.
They do it because power corrupts.
There it is.
They have power. A person with a gun, Lord Acton said it well, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We are getting to the place where we are curling in the police power. Our last 4 police chiefs have done a very good job of helping to alter the situation, but the 2 before them would send to the Deep South to recruit police because they were racist to begin with to come on out. William Parker, and Darrell Gates. My God, the most racist, and they had a racist system. But the last 4 police chiefs, at least, they have been civil and human, and our present police chief is doing a fine job of building bridges between the police and the community. So we have to work on both sides of the circle, the police who are proper and the police who are improper, just as we work with the brothers who are proper and the brothers who are improper.
But when you you said the last 4, I have to say this because it kind of bothers me.
Yes.
So the last 4 police chiefs,
You're talking to Mike.
You forgetting about William Bratton, who said when he came here that he was coming out here to deal with terrorists. That's the first thing he said.
With
terrorists.
Yes.
Street terrorists. This is his exact words.
Yes.
So he came out here with the idea that whatever he did in New York or Philly or wherever he came from, that he was coming over here to deal with people who antagonize the community. Nobody here antagonized them. It was those who have badges and guns that antagonized them.
So let me do this real quick. You will never see me ever do this again. But let me take up for William Bratton.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, he came out here and he made that bad statement. And Bo Taylor, my mentor, actually went to the press conference and shook his finger and said and did everything that you might have wanted to do to him. And Chief Bratton met with him.
Yes.
And Chief Bratton sent Connie Rice,
yes.
Jim Brown, go get him.
Yes.
I need to make things right with
yes.
him. And after that, let me tell you, Bratton may not have been good for the community. I don't know that, but he was good for LAPD. He's the one who uplifted Kenny Gardner.
Yes,
he started
did.
getting the cream to rise to the top.
Yes,
he started promoting within the community,
yes, he did.
and he started making sure that they had the stuff that he's talking about. Charlie Beck is doing now. It started with Bratton.
It started with
you
Bratton.
guys have to start this community relations, and you know his whole purpose was to get rid of the consent decree. Mm-hmm. So he had to make the community number one. And I got to give him that. Even though he said something very foolish, Bo Taylor was on his bumper, and he said, you know what? I might be wrong. Ask Connie Rice, can you get that young man right there? Mm-hmm. So he started building those bridges.
He did.
So
and you asked the deputies who are black deputies in the police, and they will say Bratton was a change maker.
Change maker, yes, he was.
maker.
Yes.
See, I just got some wisdom right now.
Right.
See,
Yeah.
I was angry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready to
Of
get
course.
on his head, and
Right.
y'all just
Right.
taught me
Right.
something. To me,
Right.
I didn't know
Right.
that.
Well, because it felt like business as usual, but Bratton came out here with fresh eyes and got to see things that we've been living through for years. It
Precisely.
shocked him.
Right.
And plus, he had the extra that he was law enforcement in Boston
Right.
when they were trying to bust black children. And he saw his own white people terrorize those little colored kids on that bus, and it did something to his heart. He was ashamed. He was ashamed of his people to see how they treated those little colored kids trying to get on the bus to get an education. So
Sister-
when he came out, he had that on him, too.
Yes, indeed. Sister, we got to keep our head to the sky.
Yeah, I know it's time. We're over already. Dang.
We just have to.
That was so
Interesting
I just want to
subject.
sing it before it came
Oh,
on.
you guys are
I'll never get a
beautiful.
chance.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. And we are going on from this point. Our people, we're going to pull together. We're going to stay in school. We're going to go into college. We're going to work hard. We're going to hold the nuclear family together. We're going to cut out that prison mentality
yes.
where we are 50% of the
Yes.
2.2 million people in prison,
Yep.
and 90% of our men are there because of substance abuse.
Right.
And Prop 47 has said that it's no
Need
longer
to
a
come
violent crime. It's listed as a misdemeanor.
That's right.
Homelessness, 3 million homeless in America, 39% of them black, 33% women, plus 4,000 children, on and on. The poverty rate, our poverty rate in underserved black communities is double that of the national poverty
Yes.
rate.
Right.
Los
Yeah.
Angeles, well-to-do, we have 125 millionaires living in our city.
Man.
And
We're going to do something, Dr. Murray.
got
I know
the
that
tools.
much.
We
Okay.
we got the tools.
We do.
Thank you, sir.
We got to use the tools.
That's right.
No, sir.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that got chills.